statue, Liberty started shaking her fist, and the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be here. I brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and today we're talking with a fellow that's been on here recently. He's a very dear friend. He's my representative, and his name is Steve Hurst. Stay where you are, and we'll come back. We're going to talk with Steve. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and today we're talking with my representative, Steve Hurst from District 35, and he's back to, we're going to clear up the record from little things that being said since he was on here last time. Welcome back to the show, Steve.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Good to have you back. Good to be.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, I don't get to see you as much as I need to, and I know you've been busy, but you and your wife, Linda, have been friends for a long time, and you got such a great family that most people know you by the family. But let's, when you was on here last time, we didn't have these issues, but your opponent has put some stuff out in the mail and on TV regarding, and I want to hear your answer to, and I'm just going to address some of the things. It says that you are a liberal because you're supported by the AEA. What do you say to that?
Ken, first of all, I'm not a liberal, period.
Understood.
If I was a liberal, I don't think with me supporting the Second Amendment, the fact that I sell guns,
and ammo,
and the fact that that I introduced a bill to surgically castrate people that mess with a child less than 12 years old, and was successful in passing one bill for 6 years old and under by changing it to in the penitentiary rest of your life. A liberal don't do that.
Right.
But let's go back to the question you asked me. People want to say that AEA, that's a liberal organization. Now, let me tell you, this is who I support. I support those teachers in those classrooms that look after those children. And that's all I've ever asked them to do, was look after your children. Now, I said, as long as you look after the children in your classroom, I'll look after you. Number one, AEA don't tell me how to vote. Neither did Bob Riley. Neither does our governor. Our governor will tell you today, and he said they supported me, endorsed me, he's helping me. But he'll tell you right quick that I don't vote with him 100% of the time. I vote for what I think is good for people I represent.
You told me one time in a discussion outside the studio that when you are at odds with your party, you don't just vote. You go to the head of the party and explain why. Is that the way I got that right?
Well, let me back up. When I changed parties, first of all, the Republican Party tried to get me to change parties for 12 years. And each time they would talk to me, I said, well, understand something about me. I said, number one, the Democratic Party won't tell me how to vote. The Republican Party won't tell me how to vote. Now, their answer always was this. They'd say, you don't have to change the way you vote because you vote as much conservative or more conservative than most of the members in our party. All you got to do is vote like you've always voted. Now, if the caucus takes a position on an issue, and we want to support it, if for some reason you can't, because of your people at home, and they know how I am, I listen to the people at home, and because of the people at home, then you just let somebody in leadership know. That's what I've done since I've been there the past 4 years.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know, several years back, I was well, I've always voted, not always, I used to be a Democrat, but in the last 15, 20 years, I've been voting Republican and conservative. But I always voted that one guy had a D by his name, and that was Steve Hurst. And I've never told you this. You know, I've come in the middle of your fundraisers, and people look at me like, we know you a Republican. What are you doing here? And I supported you at the angst of the party that I vote with most of the time. But I would not. I had to vote for Steve Hurst because, first of all, I treasure my vote. I mean, I really believe in my vote.
Well, Ken, this is the way I think people should look at it. We got a problem in Washington today, and it's a party dissension. You know, everybody wants to be so partisan. You know, we can't let that happen in Montgomery, and that's a lot of the things that's been happening. That's why I vote like I vote, because I don't want it to be a situation where it's all about party and not about the people. Right. You know, I represent the people. That's why you call me a representative.
Right.
And I want to go down there and represent the people, and if it's a good issue that comes up for the people I represent, I want to support it. If it's not, I can't support it.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always told the people there. I've told the lobbyists there, I've told the governors there, I've told everybody. And people to tell you one thing in Montgomery, Steve Hurst's word is good. They'll tell you if he says yes, it's yes. If he says no, it's no. And I don't try to be ugly to anybody, but I do try to express the feelings of the people back home. That's what I want known.
Well, as one of your constituents, I want to thank you for not doing something, and that is all the ads that you've got on any media where you're advertising. I've not heard you take on Barack Obama. And when we've talked about this before, you said, I'm running for District 35 to continue what I've been doing. You got a record that you're running on, and you're running it for your district, and you're not running against Obamacare. You're not running, and I thank you for that, because too many of them, I'm seeing public service, people for Public Service Commission, Obamacare is going to cause your light bill to go up. Maybe so, but what are you going to do about it in Alabama?
Well, you know, I'm dissatisfied with what goes on in Washington.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they don't come down here and vote for me in Alabama. I vote for the people I represent in Alabama. And that's what I intend to do, and I'm going to continue to do that.
All right, before we run out of time, I want to make sure we address all these things. One of the things that your opponent's talking about is that pay raise at 62%. They don't go on and tell the whole story. Would you like to?
I can. First off, when this came about, which was 7 years ago, prior to that, it had been 16 and a half years since there had been any kind of increase, wages or expense allowance or anything. Now, mind you, we don't get any kind of health benefits, no health insurance, no retirement, zero. People think we do, but we don't. So at that time, Governor Riley was in, and they had some discussion with the governor. And there was people that wanted to come with a pay increase because of the expenses involved. So what happened is when it was passed, which I thought it was extremely too high, but that was the only thing on the table. When it passed, what was going on, where I was sitting, I had people tell me, y'all go ahead and vote for it, and we're going to vote no. You know, but if the public could go back and take a look, the people that voted for it, and look at the people that took it, you'll be surprised how many people took it after they voted no.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little one-sided deal there. Now, what we done after that to try to fix this where it would not be an issue ever again is to have a piece of legislation that would say that you would only have what the average income would be of an average wage earner. But then you would have an opportunity per year based upon the CPI, whether or not you could have an increase. Now, what we've done, myself and other fellow Republicans, we've voted against or taking that raise. We've signed it each time that we would not take it. I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it for one simple reason. Number one, until the state employees and the teachers and other people who work for the state of Alabama can get an increase, I don't think I need an increase.
Well, I knew that to be true, but I wanted to hear it from you. And now you're a small business. We got less than 40 seconds, 30 seconds, but you're a small businessman, and they talk about small businesses and stuff. You are a small businessman, and you sell weapons, and you are a Second Amendment person. So we're going to leave on that part and go to a break, and then we'll come back. We're going to talk more with Steve. Talking with Steve Hurst. Be right back, and more of that. Get your pen in if you got any questions. Welcome back. We're talking with Steve Hurst, representative of District 35, and we're kind of countering some of the things that's being said regarding his run to go back, and the word I use, continue to serve the people up. And that is one thing, Steve. You do have a record. You've got a record, and you can run on your record. And there's people. You're not going to please everybody. I can tell you that, but if a person can step out there and say, well, just check my record, see what I've done, that's a lot to be able to say that.
Right.
But when I was talking about the Second Amendment, the NRA, everybody knows about the NRA, and you've been endorsed by them with the A rating on that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's
correct. I've been endorsed every time except the first time I ran, and that's when I ran against Larry Sims, the very first time, and he received the endorsement. He was the incumbent, and but since that time, I've been endorsed every time. That's
great. And there's a bill that came through that was very controversial this last time. It's controversial in the fact that it got stopped in the Senate by some people and people say they had a special interest to stop it. That's a spay and neuter bill. Mm-hmm. And I just need to know from you, for the record, you support or don't support the spay neuter bill?
Ken, I very much support. Now, there was an issue that came about during that time, and we talked about this before, when that bill came up for a final vote. We had filibustered it for hours, and I went to the governor's office for some problems with constituents. And while I was gone, I expected somebody to vote for me. Somebody did vote on that particular time, but it was not my vote. So when I later found out about it that night, I went back and had them to change it on the Journal that was not my vote.
And it didn't make any difference in the bill. It was stopped in the Senate.
It didn't. But to answer your question, I'm very much in favor of spray neuter. A couple of reasons, and I think I've told you this before. Number one, the veterinarians I've talked to, they didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Number two, there's so many pets out there today that people want to take care of, and they don't want to see raise more animals, or have babies, maybe I should say. So that gives them an opportunity to take care of that particular pet that's theirs, with not having to bear that expense.
Yeah.
And hardly I'll say this: when it comes back to let the people know how much I feel about it, even though I've got a collie dog and I've got a little Shih Tzu that sleeps in the bed with me that I've adopted like my own.
Use it as a computer too, don't you?
Oh yes, I've seen it up on the computer. You saw the picture.
I did.
But not only am I going to support the bill, I'm going to co-sponsor the bill, and I'm going to take a lead in the bill, because I want the people to know how much I feel inside about this and how sincere I am.
It's a shame, to have the dogs that have 2 or 3 litters, and they just dump off the litter and keep the dog, and it's just the most inhumane thing in the world. The Chehaw Regional Humane Society here in Anniston, they've had one dog in Heflin, I think 2 litters already this year. They just dump off the puppies, and that's and the spay neuter bill allows for people that don't have the money.
That's correct.
To spay neuter. That's what it's all about.
That's correct. Yes.
So they wouldn't have any excuse to say, man, I can't afford to pay that neuter, spay neuter bill.
That's right.
But yeah, let's go.
There's another thing to think about too. If they can get those spray neuter, when the dog is picked up and they get that dog spray neutered, then it's more of an opportunity for somebody to go down there and say, I want that pet.
Sure.
And they'll take that pet home with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good point. The other thing I want to take, there's a tag out there, probably the most common tag that anybody sees on an automobile, and it's a God Bless America tag, and that's your effort that did that. And I've never asked you this. I put you on the spot. Why God Bless America tag?
Ken, I was in Montgomery, and a friend of mine, we had left coming home. I think it's the first session I was there. And we pulled up behind a vehicle. I don't even recall what tag it was, but on the bottom of the tag, it said, God Bless America. And I thought, why can't we do that in Alabama? That gives us an opportunity to let people know how we feel in Alabama. And so I thought, well, let me just explore this and see what I can do. So I introduced the bill. So what we were able to do, we were able to fix the bill where the tag would not cost any additional funds to anybody. It would be a secondary tag based upon the county tag, and you could ask for your county tag or either ask for the God Bless America tag, and it at no extra cost. And I've done that for that particular reason. I did not do it for political reasons, and I've mentioned this before. I really believe that God would mark me for life if I'd done that for political reasons, and I didn't. Now later on, one of the good things that happened out of that tag as well is Jack Page came to me later on and said, would you mind helping me with a bill for the Veterans Memorial in Montevallo to help some funding from this tag. And I said, okay, explain it to me. He said, let people personalize it, where they would pay $50 for a personalized tag, and that money would go to the maintenance and upkeep of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, you said you didn't do it for personal reason, you didn't do it to get recognition. And the fact that I'm having to explain that you did it stands that up, because most people don't know that Steve Hurst had anything to do with that tag. They just see that it's a very popular tag out there. And like with the Vietnam veteran tag that I got through, I'm sure when you see a God Bless America tag, you feel a little bit of your heart kind of swells up in.
Yeah.
Now, let me I got to get this time right. I got a lot of things to cover.
Go ahead.
A couple years ago, I come to you and I said, Steve, I want to build a law enforcement, firefighters, Iraq and Afghanistan memorials, and I want them to be the official memorials for the state of Alabama. I want to put them in Centennial Park in Anniston. You said, write down what you want, bring it to me, get it to me. I did work with the legislative people down there, and you got that through with the help of our local delegation, Randy Wood and Barbara Boyd.
I did.
And once we get them built, that'll be your legacy. That'll be part of your legacy, that the firefighters, law enforcement, the Afghan veterans in Iraq, we have their names, the ones that lost their life in line of duty.
Well,
in Centennial Park.
I appreciate you saying that, Ken, but you know, the legacy is to the people that lost their lives, and that's the whole point of it. And I think I commend you and commend other people that came with this idea and promoted it and pushed it and saw that it was followed through, because now our friends or our family members that's got loved ones that's passed on because of during the war or they can go by now and they can look at this memorial and they can feel good about it, knowing that that particular name of that individual is on that wall.
Never be forgotten.
That's right.
As long as it's on that wall, that's the key to the other memorials up there. And Memorial Day is coming up, and you'll be up there, I hope. And we're going to have we have our ceremonial thing in Centennial Park. But hopefully before long we'll have those memorials that have all those names. But that'd be a tribute to you, because I think this thing is, God asks, so what did you do when you was on earth? You said, well, I had this, but what did you do? You know, and that's something that Steve Hurst did, because with your office you were able to get those bills, and I've got them, with Governor Bentley's signature on them, and the people around here, thank you for that. You served the county commission, different levels. I heard you say something the other day, and you talk about the tag thing. I thank God we get me. Why are you driven? Well, we're going to run out of time before you finish it, but I want to talk when we come back about why does Steve Hurst feel like he has got to serve on a county commission or in the state legislature? And we're running out of time, so I don't want you to start that without they're cutting me off back there in the booth. So we're going to go to a break, come back, we're going to finish that up. Be more with Steve Hurst. Stay where you are. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. And I do want to remind you, while we got Steve showing you, I want to remind you, Monday the 26th at 11 a.m. at Centennial Park, we have Memorial Day. Now, we're coming back, we're talking to Steve Hurst. Steve, we talked a little bit about attack ads, but the word negative ads, I haven't seen any on yours. You're not attacking your opponent. Negative, you don't even said anything about it, but I've seen it.
No, I hadn't, Ken, and I hate that this has happened.
Yeah.
I hope it will cease, but I have seen quite a few pieces of literature that's come forth that is, some of it is just completely erroneous.
Yeah.
Some of it is half truths. You know, some of it is taking a little bit of something out of a little bit of this. Some of it may go back to the 16 years I've been in the legislature, to some bad votes I made back then or whatever. That's one thing you've got to do. What happens while you're in the legislature, you learn through the years.
Yeah.
But those things revolve in politics, and I always try very hard not to say anything about my opponent.
Yeah.
And I may talk about issues, but I try very hard not to do that.
I saw something where somebody wrote, said it's the sign of a desperate candidate, you know, when they start attacking like that. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if your opponent is desperate, and I don't need you to comment, but that is it's an attack ad, and I give you credit that you did not. I've not seen anything, and I see most of the stuff that you put out, And I don't have any problem saying that I'm a host of this show, but I also am a real human being, that you're my representative and I count on you, and you never failed me. So I don't have any problem sitting here today with this TV program and saying that I support Steve Hurst.
Well,
but let me do before you do that. The one thing that caught my eye, I saw a lot of the Facebook comments, and if you don't mind, let me read this.
Okay.
And I'm not going to read the guy's name. It says, "I don't always vote, but when I do vote, I vote for Steve Hurst. LOL." He's a great guy and with a great family, and I'm not calling any names. Just going to say his opponent is taking cheap shots at him and his family. That kind of politician I don't appreciate. With that said, I'm voting for Steve Hurst, House District 35. And that's just over and over and over. I see that stuff. You got to be proud, but you see the same thing, I think.
I am. When the first piece came out and today another one came, first piece came out, we just got on the computer and addressed it that all this is, just a bunch of junk and half-truths and what have you. And just automatically people begin to respond. We didn't call anybody and say respond. They just started responding. And so did this gentleman. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But it goes back to one thing. The reason I think this is because of the question you were going to ask me earlier before we went to break. I think on the county commission and on the state legislature, the gratitude, the good feelings I get out of what I do is helping that elderly couple or that child. When that elderly couple says, "Thank you for helping me," that's all I need. Because I don't do anything for personal gains or anything for personally.
Well, let me say this before we run out of time. We had a widow woman about to be pushed out under the canopy at one of the nursing homes.
Okay.
And you went into the Medicaid folks to talk to them. It didn't do any good. But between you and me and a few other folks, we raised the money.
Right.
Made both of us. I got to write the ugly letter to the Medicaid folks. I know it went in the trash can.
I remember.
But that's who you are. And if people think that you just go down there twice a year, you go, You go up, your day don't end 9 to 5. At 10 o'clock at night, you're getting a call. We're down to 30 seconds. Anything you got to say there?
No,
but I want to finish that.
I welcome calls from anybody, and it doesn't matter what time you call me. People call me in the middle of the night. They call me early in the morning, 7 days a week. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what I want to do.
Well, I wish you and your family the best. You got a great wife. You married way above yourself.
I did that. Good Lord bless me with a good lady.
And I just ask you as my representative, just keep on doing what you're doing, have been doing it, and I'll be just fine with you.
Well, I certainly appreciate that.
And this salute goes to you this week. We're out of here.
Thank you so much, Kim.